FaZe Clan, one of the largest esports companies in the world, went public on the stock market in July, where they launched their stock through a SPAC and were thrilled to be the first billion-dollar esports organization. But today, it's not such a great story. It started out looking really good for FaZe Clan. They reached that billion-dollar unicorn status in an industry that is basically known to be unprofitable and a tough space to succeed in. And while everything looked good for FaZe when they launched their stock and everybody celebrated it and the FaZe boys were in the NASDAQ exchange, now the stock is trading for less than $1 per share, and there's so many people talking about FaZe Clan collapsing all around. And we can see people reporting on this now. FaZe Clan, the stock price has dropped to exactly $1. This was yesterday, and it saw all-time highs of $20. So that is quite the collapse for the FaZe Clan stock. And there's actually somebody who called this kind of here, saying FaZe equity holders will make huge money while people buying FaZe stock will ultimately lose everything. This is somebody who said this the day that they went public, or the day before they went public, and it seems like right now he'd actually be right. If you look at FaZe Clan over the SPAC acquisition was around this time, July 20th, literally right about here. They had a big rally. They got to the $20. Then they fell apart and they kind of rallied again. And it has just been down and to the right ever since then. Now under $1. They've been a penny stock for quite a while now, but officially less than $1. And it's just not a good look for FaZe. And this results in them getting memed on. So them tweeting saying the hardest video game to go pro in, and obviously another organization letting them know that the stock market is a pretty tough place to be. But for FaZe, that was once on top of the world, the billion-dollar unicorn esports brand, now we can see right here, they are worth $65 million, which is still obviously a lot of money, but nowhere near the billion that they once reached, and the numbers that were privately talked about when they were not a public company. Because these are the valuations that a lot of these top-tier organizations have from Forbes, with TSM 100 Thieves leading the way at $540 million and $460 million. And FaZe Clan was at $400 million. And this should be from 2021, 2022. This data, this should be from 2021. So percent change 2020. And this is them the year after. So obviously $400 million for FaZe Clan makes sense. A lot of people can wrap their heads around that when they're a private company, but now that the public market is involved and FaZe is only worth $65 million, now you got to question all these other valuations as well. After all, it's insanely hard to be profitable in the esports world. It's insanely hard to even just exist in this world. And out of all these tier one organizations, you got to say 100 Thieves, maybe TSM, but definitely 100 Thieves seems to be on the best path. They were called the Hoodie Org before, but their Hoodie Org status is making them revenue, and they might even be profitable. I don't know if 100 Thieves is profitable or not, but they definitely are going at this approach as a business and really going that way instead of focusing on competition, which is obviously a big part of the whole esports thing, but it's not where you make money. And for FaZe Clan, it only gets worse for the stock's potential to go even lower, as obviously the stock dropped below $1, but the lockup period is also up for FaZe shareholders to be able to sell their stocks. So like the FaZe insiders, the founders, the guys had their shares locked up. I think it was a 6-month period. We're past the 6 months now, so they could start selling if they wanted to. And obviously with FaZe stock looking like this, if they started selling, it could push it even further, which could even result in FaZe getting delisted if it reaches that certain price and sustains that price. So I don't know what's going to happen with FaZe, but obviously this is a massively bad look for the industry as a whole. If one of the biggest players in the entire space can't make it and they're struggling, what does that say for a lot of the other orgs out there? And one of the insiders who had FaZe stock or got FaZe stock for this is FaZe Blaze, who says most FaZe people were in a 180-day lockup. I still hold 100% of my shares and don't plan on selling. Feel bad for the people who are selling at this price, as it is most likely just a result of them needing the money. Pretty typical stuff we hear from people and companies all over the place. Obviously, no one's going to promote you selling their company stock, but we've seen this before with like Elon Musk selling Tesla stock when he says this is the last time I'm selling. And then all of a sudden, a few months later, he's selling another $10 billion worth of shares. So no one's going to tell you to sell the stock. No one's going to tell you it's a bad idea to buy the stock. But, these guys could sell now if they wanted to. And people like Blaze, I don't think Blaze has any ill intent. I don't even think he would sell. Some of the other guys involved in FaZe, they might be a little sharky and go get their money. And talking about esport orgs making money, this is a topic that was come up on Twitter here from Disguised Toast, who just started like an esports brand. I think he's doing it more for fun, and this was obviously a joke, or more of a joke. But Ludwig actually had a pretty good response talking about this, saying, could be feasible if you package yourself and your team to sponsors, create new products that you own and the team is a vehicle to promote, or develop an insane roster and let a tier 1 team buy it out. So all three of those are actually massively different approaches that you could take to this. The third one, developing a team of an insane roster and let a tier 1 team buy it, is an exit strategy, right? You get a bunch of talent, you pay them as much as you can, you keep them kind of lower, and then you take their buyout clauses and let the other teams, the bigger teams with more money, buy them out. You make the money that way. Not really a sustainable thing unless you're like trying to be like an agency. If you're trying to be an esports org, it's probably harder to sustain that. But creating your own products, that would be like merch and stuff. 100 Thieves done a great job with this with their merch, and Project X, their video game they have coming out, and High Grounds. 100 Thieves, I think, is probably one of the best run esports orgs out there. They might be profitable, or might be pretty close to profitable, because they focus on the business side a lot. And a lot of people were upset at that at the beginning with their rosters being lackluster, but now they've built up that side. They have a pretty strong foundation, and they've gone out and got good players. Their league team is doing very well. Their Call of Duty team just won a championship. So their esports side is doing well, and the business side is doing well. That's really what you want. But that is nowhere near easy to do. And obviously there's a reason there's only a handful of teams that have ever even tried to do their own merch line, their own products, and their own things. But also packaging yourself to a team and sponsors is also kind of risky. Obviously, if there's a bad month of sponsors, or you lose sponsors, or you run out of contracts and they don't re-up, then you could be out a lot of money. And then you would have to figure out how to get that money, and that can turn into a pretty big cash burn really fast. This whole esports industry is a cutthroat business. It is not easy to be an esports org or an esports team. It is a lot of cash burn, and basically every tier 1 org has been burning cash for a multiple years. And now with cash being a little bit harder to come by, we're going to see the healthiest ones stay out there, with the 100 Thieves, Optic Envy, the TSM. The more well-run and more money-flushed teams are going to be the ones who make it out, and the ones who aren't so well-run, who dedicate or only were able to run off of ventured capital money and new investment coming in, those teams we might see make a disappearance from the scene, and we might see a lot of esports teams actually go bankrupt this year. But as for FaZe, are they going bankrupt? Maybe. The stock price obviously isn't the only thing that matters in this world. They could end up going bankrupt, or they could end up getting delisted, but they could still end up being a massive team that keeps running. I don't really know where FaZe is going from here. It's kind of hard to see their numbers. They haven't really have set up for many years now. They had a SPAC, so it's weird to look at the numbers. But FaZe, is it going bankrupt? Probably not. Is it going through a hard time? Definitely. And FaZe being one of the biggest players in the industry, if they are struggling and they are having problems, I can only imagine what some of the other teams are going through. That's going to do it for this video. As always, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video.